العلم أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدمه. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
Any questions before we pray?
Sacrificed 100 animals. The reason why? Like he done 100.
The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is there a reason why the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam slaughtered 100? Because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was kareem. He was generous. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
I've got a few questions. Just one. So you see the person who doesn't use hadi or doesn't do it, his fidya is the same as the one done the other, right?
La, the one that doesn't have his hadi, la. If a person doesn't have his hadi, then he has to fast 10 days in Hajj. After 10 days, 3 days in 3 days in Mecca and 3 days in Hajj.
So the one that you're talking about now, about the one, is it the one who doesn't do his miqat, even though the ihram?
The one that doesn't do the wajibat.
So does he have the same as the person, does he have takhir between these three things?
Whichever he wants to do. Naam, he has takhir of whichever one he can do. So, what was the second one?
And the second one was
لا بأس. نعم حسن.
You see, for the person that is forced to do Qiran, for example, if he comes in late and he has to go to Arafah, he has to do Qiran.
Yeah. Yeah.
His intention wasn't to do Qiran in the beginning, and he hasn't got his hadi with him. So, what should that person do if he hasn't got his hadi with him?
If he hasn't got his hadi, then he wasn't on Qiran in the first place. Oh, if he wanted to do it, no, okay. Mathalan, he wanted to do tamattu' when he gets to Makkah, do ihram, do umrah and so on, and then finish, sah? طيب. And then obviously he finds out that he's only got a few hours left to get to Arafah, or otherwise he doesn't have any Hajj. We said he needs to change it to what? To the ihram of Qiran, meaning Hajj and Umrah. How does he do it? That's a good question. He doesn't need to do Umrah first. He goes straight over to Arafah. طيب. He changes his intention to Hajj and Umrah. So when he's going into Arafah, he's got the intention of Hajj and Umrah. When on the 10th day, when he's doing Tawaf, when he does his Rami as normal, throwing of the stones, he shaves his head as normal. When he's doing the Ihram, when he's doing the Tawaf, he's doing Tawaf for Hajj and Umrah. And he's doing Sa'i for Hajj and Umrah. So all of the actions of Umrah and all of the actions of Hajj are combined into one. That's how you change it over. And that point I don't think we mentioned last week. Jazakallah khair.
Would that be his tawaf al-qudum?
La, tawaf al-qudum is a sunnah. That would be his tawaf al-ifada. Tawaf al-ifada is the tawaf of Hajj, whereby if a person doesn't do, then there is no Hajj for them. Does touching your spouse with desire nullify the Hajj? And does touching your spouse with desire nullify the Hajj? La, it doesn't nullify the Hajj. Like a person should stay away from it. Or is it only sexual intercourse? No, it's only sexual intercourse that nullifies it. Like if a person does do touching and ejaculates and so on, then it doesn't nullify the Hajj. Lakin they should obviously avoid it. فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج. Can one make a proposal during Hajj? La, they should wait until. Well, can one make a proposal during Hajj? I think the question should read: Can one make a proposal during Ihram? La, they should wait until after Ihram. They should leave that off until after Ihram. لا ما في كناية. No, not كناية. كناية يعني meaning to indicate. Inshallah, after Hajj we'll talk, or saying something like that. No, leave it off. Could you possibly explain what? There's a question, could you possibly explain when and how the combining process with Hajj al-Qiran works? I think I just explained this, where you do the actions of Hajj and Umrah, they both become one. So, mathalan, for Hajj and Umrah on the 10th day, obviously you're in your ihram anyway. On the 10th day, you throw your stones, cut your hair, you go to the haram, you do the tawaf, like in all this time we're doing it with the intention of Hajj and Umrah together. Doing tawaf, and then you do the sa'i. With the intention of both Hajj and Umrah, and that's how you bring Hajj into Umrah. The next question, when it comes to combining prayers, does it matter whether you do Jam'u Ta'khir or Jam'u Taqdeem? It doesn't matter, both are permissible, lakin the person has to look at what is easier for them. If they are the same to him, then it can be said that doing it early is better. The Jam'u Taqdeem, yani praying both salahs at the time of the earlier salah. So for example, Dhuhr and Asr, you're allowed to pray at the time of Dhuhr, and you're allowed to pray Dhuhr and Asr at the time of Asr. The question is, which one is better? The first is whichever is easier for the Hajj, whichever is easier for the person that's traveling. That's the whole point of the rukhsa, the concession. Like if both are the same, then it can be said that doing it in the earlier part, or doing Jam'u Taqdeem, is better, because you never know what's going to happen to you.
Just more questions. Can you do multiple Umrah while you're waiting?
That's a good question. Can you do multiple Umrah? This is a mas'ala that scholars differ over. And many of them say, well, there's two opinions. First is that it is permissible to go do so. And they use the evidence that the Hajj of the Aisha radiallahu anha, when Abdurrahman radiallahu anhu told him to, when the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Abdurrahman to take Aisha to Masjid Tan'im. Masjid Aisha is called, which is the hudud, just outside the haram, in order to come back to the haram. Why? Because Aisha, she could only do Hajj al-Qiran. But all of the other people done tamattu'. So she was upset she didn't do tamattu', Umrah and Hajj. So the Messenger allowed for her to go and do tamattu', to go and go out of to Tan'im, out of the haram to Hil, and then come back in. So they say that is permissible. Then there are those scholars that say it's not permissible, because it has not been. Firstly, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not do it. Secondly, it hasn't been narrated from any of the companions that they did so. They would only go Umrah one time and leave like that. They wouldn't do it multiple times, coming in and out. And also, even Abdurrahman, the hadith, Abdurrahman ibn Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, even that hadith, Abdurrahman didn't go into a state of ihram and come back in and do Umrah. It was only Aisha. So they say that your evidencing for that hadith is not in its place. So it may be better to say that, to leave it off, madam it wasn't something that was practiced by the early Salaf.
Is it permissible for someone else to pay for your Hajj? That's the offer of the ask.
If a person offers to pay for your Hajj, it's fine. They can, as long as they've got your permission and you make the intention, you perform the Hajj, that's fine. They can pay on your behalf.
And asking for money from someone?
No, it's not. You don't need to ask them. It's not wajib upon you aslan. And there's another mas'ala that I don't think we mentioned is, no, actually we did mention. If a person wants to perform Hajj on behalf of someone, he must first have performed the Hajj himself.
Yeah.
We talked about that. When does the fidya need to be done? The fidya needs to be done as soon as possible. Once the person is still in Makkah, like if they end up leaving Makkah, then they do it wherever they are. Can Umrah be done? Can Umrah be done at any time of the day? Na'am. Umrah can be done at any time of the day, any month, any time of the year.
What are 6 conditions like hunting wild animals? Do all 3 conditions have to be present?
No, all 3. No. Why? Because if they're not present, then we're going to say mathalan, we're not allowed to kill tigers if we do happen to find them in the haram. Obviously, they're harmful. Can a woman who plans to go Hajj or take? This is a good question as well. Can a woman who plans to go Hajj or Umrah take pills to stop menstruation, as women don't want to miss out on the extra rituals? It's permissible for women to take pills or medication that delays the haid, the menses, so that they can perform the Hajj as expected or as they want, or in the complete way, as long as it doesn't have any harmful side effects. And that's the same for Ramadan. they can do the same for Ramadan as well. Okay, they should try to avoid it if it does have side effects.
If you want me to feed Saalikeen as a fidya, do you have to do it directly with your hand, or can you pay like?
You can pay it to. There's some charity organisations that you can actually give to, and they do it on their behalf. So it's quite sure. For them.
Remember in the summary that you've done of Tamattu, first lesson, you said that a person makes the niyyah for Hajj when they're at the miqat in the plane, then they exit Ihram, and on the 8th day when Hajj starts, they make another intention.
That's Tamattu.
They make 2 intentions for Hajj.
2 intentions. Lakin the intention that they made initially at the miqat is that intention for Umrah. Yes, they have the intention for Hajj and Umrah, lakin the talbiyah or the nusuk that they pronounce with their tongue at that particular moment is Umrah. And it is part of the ritual of Tamattu' that a person first exits the Ihram, does the Umrah, and then on the 8th day they go back to a state of Ihram. This is a very good question. Is there no snitching if you choose not to go as usual? Okay, yeah.
You might not be able to finish all of it, plus some of the brothers' hands are still out.
What should they make? I don't know. We leave these questions, one from here and one from the floor, and then they ask them about which day is best for them to. This question from the sisters, it is wajib upon, as you establish, as is established, Hajj is wajib upon every Muslim. But what if the only thing stopping the sister is the COVID vaccine? Is that the sister sinning if she chooses not to go, as there is a requirement of taking the COVID vaccine? The question of, to give it context, Hajj is obviously wajib upon every single Muslim. So if a person has the means to go Hajj, financially and physically, lakin, obviously we know in the last year and this year and last year there was a requirement for Hajj, an extra requirement, which is the issue of the vaccine. The issue of the vaccine. Now, if a person wants to perform Hajj, they need to have the vaccine. Some people don't want to take the vaccine. Some people do not wish to take the vaccine. Will they be sinful if they don't take the vaccine, meaning if they delay the Hajj? If they delay the Hajj. Allahu A'lam, lakin, the person that avoids Hajj because of the vaccine, they won't be sinning because they want to avoid the vaccine for various reasons, depending on obviously the reason they want to avoid. Some people might have a weak immune system and they don't want they're scared of the side effects or the reaction that they may give. Some of them don't want to take the vaccine as it is. So if they've got a legitimate reason, then inshallah it can't be said that they're sinning for not doing it, because that Hajj, that vaccine has now become an extra condition. Just like the mahram was an extra condition for the women. So the vaccine has become an extra condition. Lakin there's a thing that we have to also take into consideration. We can't, like you find some people who are ignorant say, the Saudi government, they're doing this, they're trying to make money out of it. Why are they making it? They're changing the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're making a vaccine wajib. The only person who doesn't have an understanding of the Sharia will say that. Last question. A person who hasn't asked the question before. One from the brothers.
It's not related, but it's something that you mentioned, which is, the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha when she was in Hajj and they wore the khimar over their faces. My question is, how the Shafi'i believe that the muqaddam it's not wajib upon the woman. Would that be a delil to prove that it is? The fact that she even wore it in Hajj and covered her face in Hajj?
Naam, that's one of the evidences that the scholars use. That is one of the evidences that they use to say that the niqab is wajib. That is one of the evidences that they use. They say even in a state of ihram, they would cover themselves up. That's one of the evidences that they use. طيب والله تعالى أعلم وأحكم بالله توفيق.